live. It was just being temperamental. Hold on, let me see when we're now live on YouTube. So
hey, YouTube Live.
Hey, welcome to Marketing Monday Mixer. I'm super excited to be on YouTube Live instead of Facebook Live tonight. And normally we have my co-host Tracy Hazard this evening. Hold on. I have to minimize this. Hold on. Marketing Monday Mixer. I'm super excited to be on YouTube Live instead of Facebook Live tonight. And I don't know how to mute me. Normally, we have no. I think okay, now it's going. Okay, are you eating on my show? So normally, sorry about the technical difficulties there. Normally, my co-host is Tracy Hazard, but she's out of town this evening. She's actually at the dentist. So my co-host this evening is Jim Beach, who I happen to love because he's a super cool, casual guy. You can see so casual. He is eating and drinking as we speak. Did we interrupt your dinner, dude?
I'm not on the air yet, so I'm not eating on air.
What do you mean?
Now I'm not eating.
No, okay, but we were on the air. So anyway,
but I wasn't on camera then. I can tell who's on camera and who's not, and I am now. But when you were on camera, or even in the future when you are on camera, I can eat then.
Oh, okay. What are you having for dinner?
My wife made a delicious lasagna, salad, and bread. It's nice. Most delicious.
Well, glad to hear. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing your dinner with everyone as well. So, Jim, tell everybody who you are, why I ask you here, why we should listen to you.
Oh, well, those were very different questions. Who I am is, my name is Jim. I am longtime entrepreneur and podcaster, McGraw-Hill author. I have a radio show. My podcast is actually terrestrial radio as well in 25 cities around the country. And that's it. Why you should listen, I have no idea. I wouldn't. And why you had me is because Tracy was sick and you asked 9 other people from what I've been able to discover. And I was the first one to say yes.
That's not
so
true.
My understanding is that I was the 10th choice. So that's just the way I've been told. So
that was just gossip. That was gossip. It's very untrue.
Most gossip is rooted in truth. So
hey, you were 4th. No.
That's exactly
does that make you feel better?
I was only 4th choice. Yes.
So Jim has this really unique idea, and he's been on radio for a while. And I wanted you to just talk about what radio has done for your platform and how you have set out to do what Jeff Bezos did to destroy the book world and the Amazon bestseller that you intend to do with radio.
Right. Well, that was quite a few questions again. So first of all, I love my podcast. I started off as a podcaster. I am a podcaster at heart. I like the whole thing about it. I can podcast in my underwear and no one would know, and I can do it whenever I want. And the whole thing, I like being a podcaster, and I understand why you are a podcaster and why anyone listening is. I'm there with you. I started off my podcast at a place where I more or less paid to do the show, and they also broadcast it live. And I was always asking, how many listeners did we have? And they were, we don't really want to talk about that. And eventually I discovered it was 6 listeners or something like that. And so I got really frustrated and decided to take my show in my own hands, so to speak, and hopefully go out and build an audience in a more unique way. And so the strategy I did from day one was to ignore iTunes and go everywhere else. And so pretty soon I was on 20 internet platforms. You can find my show 20 internet places. And I've been on a lot of internet radio stations. I was on a thing called Liberty Express, which was a politics 24-hour-a-day radio show type thing broadcast over the internet. And that was a really good place for my show, even though my show wasn't politics, never has been. I'm only small business. I got thousands and thousands and thousands of listeners. And I've been able to find some other platforms like that. And so the show has done very well over the internet. But it also, I always wanted to do, or thought that it should turn into a radio show. To me, it's sort of like growing up for a podcast, that when a podcast has the option to expand its audience by also being on the old school boring format, the losing format of radio, well, why wouldn't you do that? And everyone, all the podcasters tell me how loser radio is and how it's dying. And I point out they're right. You know, it is dying. It went from 97% penetration to 96.5% penetration. And so you're right, there is a death there. And if it continues at that rate, it will die sometime about 50 years after I do. You know, I still see so many opportunities and benefits. And so I started with, I think, 6 AM FM stations at first, was able to get a 6-station deal. And I will talk about all of this and explain every single bit of it in more detail. And that is now turned into 25. I have some good ones. I have some horrible ones. I have some that we really shouldn't even call stations. They are so bad. But I am in places like Tampa, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, Denver, Long Beach, California, Tallahassee, some great B markets. No, I'm not in any A markets or anything like that, but I'm in 25 stations or cities and a mixture of AM, FM. And the career opportunities for me, my career wasn't suffering in the first place, but it certainly has helped. And I always just point out this. If you're an author, is there a difference between being a self-published author and being a McGraw-Hill author? Is there a distinction there?
Absolutely.
And most importantly, who would care about that distinction? Well, I think the people who would care about that distinction are the people who book speakers for events, the people who publish other books, the people who are influence makers and go out there into the world and buy the people who podcast services are selling. Podcasters, I hope you're on podcasting for a reason. I hope you're selling something through the show. If it's you as something, you as an author, whatever, I believe that the podcast should be there for a reason that you can point to, other than just our pure narcissism. And I certainly am a narcissist, and I think all podcasters are narcissists. I think that's part of the formula. I'm so important, my words have to be heard. But anyway, I believe that the people who are going to be paying us, sponsors, publishers, bookers, those sort of people, are more excited if you're a McGraw-Hill author than a self-published author. And let's take that a step further. In any sort of way that you can prove the validity of your claim. Not only am I an entrepreneur, but I'm a 3-time Inc. 5,000 entrepreneur. There's a big difference there. Mm-hmm. And the people who hire speakers, the people who decide what books get published, those sort of things matter to those sort of people because it looks good on an Amazon listing. It looks good on a website. Who are our speakers? Well, we have a McGraw-Hill author. We have a Penguin author. We have a New York Times bestselling author. Any of those sort of trademarks that you can slap on your career, the brand names of some other trademark, are going to help your career. And I think that if we take it a step further, the same thing is true with podcasting. If you can go ahead and say, not only am I a podcast, but I'm also a radio show host, that is sexier, that is more unique, that is more compelling. If you can then say, and I'll show you how to do this, how to win an award for your podcast or radio show, I think that that makes it sexier. So I won the Small Business Administration Media Award. That's a national award given by our government, so it makes, I brag about that because I think it adds validity, and I can show you how to win that same award. There's a formula for it.
I should win that award.
I can teach you the formula. There's a formula for it. And so then when I got on multiple AM FM stations, I brag about that. That makes me an easier choice than a podcaster. And the podcaster can say, I'm number 6 on iTunes, and I can play that game too. I play on iTunes now too. I am on iTunes now, and I do compete there. And we can talk about what I do to make myself rank high on iTunes. But I just believe that as thought leaders, entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, anything in that space, that we have different pathways to add credibility, the book, the speaking career, the whatever, all of these different things. And we need to rung up, RUNG up, each one of those. It's a ladder, and you want as many rungs underneath you as possible, as many awards, as many adjectives, as many descriptors, as many things to brag about. And so that's why I think radio is the logical next step progression for anyone who's taking podcasting seriously, who really cares to play. All right, what about that?
That was awesome. No, we didn't like it. Do another one. Do it again. No. Nobody ever asks, how is that? So the award you won, Congress didn't have to vote on it, right? Because they haven't even allocated 2018 grant money yet. So I just want to make sure if I ask you to help me, that I won't get the award like after I'm dead.
No, it is a thing that it's driven locally and then designated nationally. So you go in through your local SBA office, do stuff for them, prove that you are helping the small business community, and let them know you have a podcast. Then say very simply, I would love to have your people on my podcast. So I want the district manager, the district director of that SBA office should be on your show to talk about something, to talk about how the SBA can help coaches or anything that you can think of. Then you go and say, now, who are you helping in this office? Give me some of your clients, the people who are actually getting SBA services. I want to interview those people. And you talk about how great the SBA is and how they've been helped, and talk about their business. And now the SBA is not only giving them advice, not only giving them money, but putting them out there on the podcast, which is way past their value proposition. That's an extra bonus that the SBA didn't offer, but they delivered. And so, boy, that looks great when you deliver more than you offer. Makes the SBA look great. We got 7 of our people on a great podcast this month. They'll brag about that to their boss. When it comes time for awards, which are in May, you go out to lunch with the guy in March and say, hey, I'd really like the award. Can you help me? I'm on several award committees, Juliet. I'm on the Atlanta Small Business Person of the Award, Small Business Person of the Year judging committee. And I promise you, the people who ask for the award win more frequently than the people who don't ask.
Ah, really? I have somebody I should introduce you to.
I sleep with a lot more people that I ask to sleep with than I don't ask to sleep with me, Juliet. It's a formula. It's a parallel thing.
Thank you. Thank you. For all of you listening to the show last week, it was Scott's tattoo on his ass that he didn't have. This week, it's Jim sleeping.
Well, he doesn't have a tattoo on his ass? Is that what we were talking about? Because I also do not have a tattoo on my ass.
Thank you. You know what? That is criteria to be on this show. It's one of the questions I ask to screen people. Really? So if you have one, don't bother to ask to be on this show. No.
Good advice.
Okay.
We all have our criteria.
We do. We all have our standards. So tell us about your entrepreneurial background. Why did you start all of this, and how did you monetize it?
I got fired. So my dream in life was to be the CEO of Coca-Cola, and I had enough connections to get a internship there in high school and figured out very clearly that the best path in Coca-Cola is international, to come up through an international market and then come back to the United States. So I learned Japanese, moved to Japan and got a job at Coca-Cola Japan, saved them about $1 billion over 10 years, and then got asked to leave the building. And was shocked. I was shocked that I didn't, at 23, my life dream was destroyed and was over. And I had enough friends at Coca-Cola to go around and ask and say, why did I not get a job, permanent job here? I by every standard, I saved you a ton of money. I deserve a job. And they said, yeah, you don't fit in. You don't fit corporate. You're not the right person for the job or our community. You should go be an entrepreneur. And I said, an entrepreneur? What was that? What are we talking about? Had no clue what they really were suggesting or what the implications were, but started a business about a year later. I wanted to go back to school. So I decided to go. I already had a couple master's degrees and thought that I should probably get a third or a fourth. So I was going to go become an architect. I had a midlife crisis at 22 or 23 and decided to go to architecture school and become an architect. And so I was going to do a summer business to allow me to go to school 9 months a year. So that either means what? Pool cleaning, landscaping, summer camps, something like that. So I decided I don't like outdoors, sweating and gross things like that. So I decided to start a academic summer camp. And again, I was talking about brand names before, and it really fits into this story as well. So I started summer camps in 1994 at Stanford and MIT, two places that you've heard of, teaching computer skills, HTML, movie making, web design, all of that. Within 7 years, we were at 89 locations around the world: Cambridge, Oxford, Sorbonne, Adelaide, Georgetown, UCLA, SMU, Emory, all of the good brand name schools, Georgetown, in each city. We had an amazing business, an amazing run, sold that when I was 31 and became a college professor. My first class, I bet that I could start a business that semester and make it cash flow positive that semester, repay all of my startup capital that semester. And the class got to choose the country and the industry that I would start the business in. They chose Pakistan and furniture, so I had 3 months to build a profitable Pakistani furniture company. Please go to my LinkedIn profile and connect with me. Again, my name is Jim Beach, and I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. But I'm not promoting myself right there. What I'm doing is asking you to scroll to the very, 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 very bottom of my experiences, and you will see the chairs that ended up coming from my Pakistani furniture company. And they're an amazing product, and it was an amazing story. And this began my development of a personal entrepreneurial thesis. And that's the story where the show comes in. So I started teaching, and over time I realized that my formula was to start with no money, that I do better when I have no money. I do better when I copy someone else's idea and simply make it better. I was not the first computer summer camp. I was just the one at Georgetown and UCLA and Emory and SMU. We just did it better. We were sponsored by Intel and Microsoft. Who was the other guy sponsored by? Nobody. I just did it better. Part of my formula is copy, create, copy, borrow, steal. And then the third part of the formula became passion. I don't believe in entrepreneurial passion. I don't think you should love what you do. I think you should love the person you sleep next to. And I think passion for a business is really close to materialism. I don't really see a major distinction there. And that changes everything. If I'm now allowed to do a business that I have no creativity, 93% of businesses are copies of other existing businesses. Why should I try to be the 7% that's actually new and different? That's stupid. I don't take risk, and I don't believe in passion. And that became the formula that I taught through these classes. I was a professor, and that became a book at McGraw-Hill. So McGraw-Hill offered to make that into a book. This one right here. Let me show it to you. I will promote the book. It's School for Startups by McGraw-Hill. It went to number 9 on Amazon. So I'm one of those silly bestsellers on Amazon, except huge distinction. I wasn't number 9 in my category. I was number 9 on Amazon.
Cool.
Right up there with Hillary Clinton and, the big books. So we were that level. And we have now over 100 reviews on Amazon as well, which is an important thing when you're talking about this. So anyway, I was blown away that McGraw-Hill, my publisher, did 0 to promote my book. And so I started doing podcasts myself, and I was on about 200 or 300 shows as a guest. And eventually that turned into my own podcast, which eventually turned into 25 AM FM stations around the country.
That is a cool story. And by the way, do go over to LinkedIn. I am the only person on the planet who seems to think that these are the world's ugliest chairs, but he made money and he thinks they're really cool and they belong like in Aspen. So
you see, Juliet, this is one of those situations where the marketplace is proving you wrong.
I know. And it's horrible. It's horrible that you all have such bad taste.
Let me explain for those who aren't on the website. We took 100-year-old Killam carpet or Oriental rugs and cut them up and made them the fabric for these large overstuffed chairs. They look absolutely amazing next to a brown distressed leather sofa in an Aspen ski lodge. It looks like a Western motif type poncho design almost, except it's an Oriental rug, and it was $450 into my door. They listed for $2,400 to $2,600. This is a cool little add-on story, Juliet. One of my co-authors, David Beasley, he was a reporter for everybody, the AP and all that kind of stuff. He was ghostwriting a book on the CEO of Coca-Cola, and the CEO of Coca-Cola's favorite chair was one of our chairs.
Oh.
And so, I win you.
That is actually a really great story. So, you have this new idea. Are you ready to share it? So for those of you who don't know, being an Amazon bestseller used to be like a thing. And I still hear people every day talk about, oh, I'm an Amazon bestseller. But one of my good friends who is a media consultant says that people come to them all the time and say, I'm an Amazon bestseller. And the producer rolls his eyes and says, next, because it's so easy to
manipulate.
It's a game. It's a game. So when I first met Jim, sitting next to him at this mass media event.
You really hated me. Not only did you think my chairs were ugly, you thought I was mean and stuff.
I did. I sat next to him and I thought, oh, this guy looks like a total, I don't think I can say that on air. I can't say that either.
What was I doing that made you think I was not nice?
I don't know. You just had like this mean look about you. Like you looked impenetrable. Okay. So he looked like a jerk. That's probably the word I can use because I don't know what the restrictions are on here, but I would assume that I can't say unchild-friendly things. So it's kind of a jerk. And
I have feelings, right? I bleed.
Really?
And hurt.
Yeah, you don't hurt that bad. So anyway, then he started talking to me and I was like, he's okay. Like I can sit next to him for the next couple of days. And then he started his sarcasm and I was like, oh my God, this guy is my soulmate. So we had a really fun couple of days, but we also got to share some ideas in there. And I loved his idea for radio syndication because so many of us are already podcasting. We're already doing it. You want to share, or am I interrupting your dinner? I'm so sorry.
Hey, it's 7:00 on East Coast time.
Do you want me to text your wife and have her bring you dessert?
No, that's okay. We're putting the kids to bed and it's that time of day for us. Oh,
okay.
Yes. Well, I was very, very sad. Juliet, I thought you and I were going to see each other in Austin this week. This is funny. So I seriously, this weekend, yesterday, I sat down and started to plan my week, and I was on delta.com and I was starting to look at tickets for Austin. And then I went to the website to see where the hotel was and where we were going in Austin this weekend for the mastermind thing. And I kept looking and I kept looking, and I was like, well, there's no hotel information on Scott. You're worthless. You don't even put the hotel, the venue on here. And then it started talking about online this and that and online this and that. And I was like, oh, hell, I don't get to go to Austin. I already had babysitters and stuff lined up to take care of the kids in my absentia. And that's how stupid I am.
Oh.
I'm very sad that we won't see each other in this weekend. First, let me say that.
Okay. Well, thank you. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Scott Carson, that was on last week, is putting on a 3-day live summit, mass media summit. Going to have some great guests. Jim is one. I'm one. Tracy, I think it's actually Tom that's talking. I'm not sure Tracy's talking. The Hazards. And if you want to buy tickets, you can go to massmediasummit.live and sign up over there. If you use the code Juliet, Juliet, you'll get half off that ticket. So that's where Jim thought he was actually going to Austin, but it's online. So definitely worth going to.
So anyway, the last time those of us gathered, we talked about this thing, this new business idea of mine, the Pod 24. So let me explain two problems that I see. So number one problem is that 70% of the market has no idea how to get, download, and listen to a podcast. And this includes smart technical people who just don't know how to do it. There's a two-part problem. Not only is it technical, it's once I get to iTunes, what do I download? There's just too many choices. There's a billion choices, and we all know as marketers, when there's a billion choices, you choose nothing. You're best to have 3 choices or 2 choices, and then you have a higher participation rate or choice or activation rate or whatever, right? And so most people, 70%, don't listen to iTunes. They don't listen to podcasts. They have no idea how or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, most podcasters, there's 600,000 of us narcissists out there. Most of us are very dissatisfied with their numbers. And I am constantly dissatisfied with my numbers, but I'll go ahead and tell you my numbers. Between the 20-something internet platforms I'm on now and the 25 AM FM stations that I am on right now, and I didn't mention this earlier, and people may think this is crazy. We do 6 shows a week, 6 one-hour shows a week. We're getting about 1 million listeners a week. And I don't say the word downloads because listeners is more inclusive than downloads. It's a bigger number. It includes radio. And more importantly, it's what media buyers, those people who give us money, sponsors, they deal with listeners, not downloads. They're still in the radio world. They still get pitched radio type statistics. So I believe in going to them with statistics that they're used to seeing, which is listeners, not downloads. And so I claim 1 million listeners a week, and I can go down to 10,000 and show you how we get that number. So I still am dissatisfied. I still want more listeners, right? And all of us feel that. I think every podcaster is desperate, especially when you get started. You've got a great show. It's a year old. You've just figured out all the technical stuff. Finally, you're satisfied with the product. You're getting good at it. Now you've done 50, 40 shows or something like that, and you're still getting 5,000 listeners or downloads or something, just not what you were expecting. So I want to take those two problems and put them together and solve both problems simultaneously. And that's what this Pod 24 is designed to do. It's already up and running. And in just a minute, I'll tell you our numbers on it as well. We're on day 7 of true you since what I would consider launch. We've started, promoting it and stuff like that. Pod 24, the easiest way to think of it is Sirius FM radio, satellite radio. It's a collection of channels, each channel on a similar topic. So on Pod 24, we have a sports channel, a religion channel, a small business channel, whatever your podcast is on, we have a channel that it would fit into. On that channel, we have 30, 35 different podcasts. They play back to back to back 24 hours a day, just like a radio station or a television station. And so when I, as a listener, come to the website and I have no clue what I want to do, all I know is I want French cooking. And I go on the homepage and there's a button that says French cooking. I click the button. It starts talking to me about French cooking. And it starts in the middle of the podcast. Why? Because we have a schedule. And you came into the middle of our schedule, just like on this thing called radio or this other thing called TV. And all of us are very used to that. We know that if you join at 3:45, there's about 8 or 9 minutes of show left and a bunch of commercials, and it starts over something new at the top of the hour. But if you now want French cooking podcast, you're there, you found it. And we call that OneClick Listening. Sort of like one-click purchase on Amazon, we have OneClick Listening. All of a sudden you click once, you get to hear stuff. And you don't, you just rotate through, and maybe you don't like the show. And so you have an option to go and see other hosts who have similar topics, but that they've sort of been pre-vetted. They're sort of on topic, it's easy. And then I have satisfied the host's value proposition. What did I sell the host on? I'm going to provide you with new listeners. And lo and behold, this new listener has left my website and has come to iTunes or your website or your subscription site or whatever you want. And I have added you a new subscriber, a new fan. So the hosts of the podcast get new listeners, and the 70% person, the one-click person, now has discovered an easy, simple way to listen to shows that they like. Now, let me take it a step further. I am going to spend thousands of dollars on each channel, driving thousands and hundreds of thousands of listeners to each channel. So let me ask you this. Did iTunes do that on your behalf?
No.
Did any of your hosting platforms, and I know all of them, don't tell me one, my hosting, no, they don't. Our platform is going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've raised venture capital for this. We are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to do one thing: buy you listeners. So how do we do that? We go on a great podcast in your vertical, say the best French cooking podcast, the one with the best numbers. We advertise on their Facebook page. We advertise on their homepage. In today's world, it's easy to super target your ads. And we're doing that by going and finding other podcasts that are similar to yours, advertising there and driving listeners directly to your French cooking show.
Sweet.
And so no one else is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on your behalf. We're spending more on your behalf than you are. Think about that. So that's cool in and of itself. I'm going to drive 1 million listeners to Pod 24 on the channels. We're going to have 20 channels at first, but eventually we'll have channels on the minutia. For example, there are over 100 podcasts on University of Georgia football. So eventually we will have a University of Georgia football channel. And the people who like University of Georgia football will be in heaven. And the rest of us will know, no, don't go near there. Don't go near there.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger, Will Robinson.
But that's the idea. So that's step one, that we will create thousands of new listeners for you and drive new fans to your show. And so basically we're going to take the formula that I've used personally and drive it to you. Yes, I have advertised my show on my number one competitor's show.
Wow, what a
Think
great
about
idea.
that.
Yeah.
I have advertised my show on the people who are more popular than me.
On the radio or podcast?
With targeted digital ads.
That is awesome.
Target digital ads. So the people who are my competitors don't even know that it's happening.
Oh, that's cool.
I like this one. I like this one.
I like this too.
I like this one. So I'm going to do the same thing for the buckets of shows that we create: small business, real estate, relationships, sexuality, parenting, all of the issues that we care about, fantasy sports, Game of Thrones, politics, kill Trump, Trump is God, all of the things we care about, we'll have a bucket for. And that makes it super easy for me to bring in people to that bucket because it's a uniform bucket. So that's the one step. Now, step two, if you want the credibility, the certification of being a nationally syndicated radio host, I can do that for you. And again, I'm going to be honest with you, and it's not a scam because I'm being honest with you. I'm going to turn you into a nationally syndicated radio host tomorrow. You're going to get the amount of time that you can buy. I spend over $10,000 a month buying airtime on AM FM. That's how it works. Okay. That's just the way the market works. You buy time there. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it works. And if we want to spend an hour talking about the dynamics of the radio market, we can do that. But I buy time. You can't afford $10,000. Can you afford $200? So I will sell you $200 of time. It's going to be crap. Bad time. Bad time. Not good time. And I want to be super clear. You're not going to get new listeners from AM, FM, what I'm selling you. I'm selling you middle of the night, no listeners.
Okay.
But I'm honest. You're honest. You now get to say you're an AM, FM, nationally syndicated radio host.
Okay. So you really are doing what Bezos did for Amazon bestsellers. But do we get any listeners? Does anybody listen at that time frame?
No, you're not going to get AM, FM listeners. Go to your house and listen to your favorite radio station in the dark. You can't hear AM in the dark. AM doesn't work in the dark, by the way. Really? The signal's a 50,000 watt signal, like WSB here in Atlanta, which goes 40 or 50 miles during the day, will go 2 or 3 miles with the same tower at night.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Anyway, again, a bunch of radio minutia. If you want listeners, that's the first part of my offering. The second part of my offering is the credibility play.
Got it.
So I'm being honest, and I want you to be honest. But here's something, Juliet, this is so important. So I have been nationally syndicated for about 5 years now. And I am 100% honest. I've got some great stations and I've got some horrible stations. I'm on at 2 p.m. on most of my stations, which is some of the best time there is. Right up against Rush Limbaugh and Hannity and Clark Howard and stuff like that. But those are that's when you want to be on. You want to be on at 2, 3, 4. Those are the best times. I've got some great times on, or some time slots. In 5 years, I say, ooh, my name is Jim Beach. I'm a nationally syndicated radio host. Juliet goes, ooh, wow, that's really cool. Where are you on? And I go, hey, I'm not in New York City. I'm not in Los Angeles. I'm in places like Tampa and Milwaukee and Pittsburgh and things like that. And people go, wow, that's really cool. So what else that's it. That's where the radio conversation ends. No one has ever said, so what's the signal strength of your tower in Tampa? No one. in 5 years has ever asked past where I'm 100% happy to tell them. I don't want to tell them the tower strength in Tampa. I don't know. And I know it's not strong, but I don't have to say that because no one ever asks. They go, wow, you're a nationally syndicated radio host. I go, yeah. Believe me, I'm willing to talk about it more than they're willing to listen.
That's cool. That's very cool.
And so we're being honest about this. I'm going to sell you cheap time, and you're going to use it to promote yourself as a better thought leader. But then there's step 2, which is I will teach you then how to go get a good, better radio deal with someone else. Someone who's going to give you the 2:00 slot. I'll teach you how to get that, find it, negotiate it, and move on and fire me. Because I know this, I will replace you with someone else really fast.
Because you value me as a client. Thank you. That's awesome, Jim. So how can we get a hold of you if we want to explore this with you?
Go to pod24.com. There's a button on the right that says host and sign up. And, it's $100 a month for the numbers. It's $220 a month for the prestige national syndication play. So I told you I'd tell you our numbers. We are on day 7 of promoting ourselves. And we went over 10,000 listeners today.
On day 7. You're awesome. I wish I could do that.
Yes, that's my point. I can do what you can't do for your own show. And so I'm excited to offer this to podcasters. And here's the important thing. I've already got 15 shows on my small business channel of 30. I'm already halfway sold out. So if you have a small business show, and I haven't started promoting yet, I'm just telling my little friends, and I haven't done anything yet. Right. Okay. So soon here, I'm going to start throwing this out to everyone else, and then it's going to fill up. Because of those 600,000, I already know 100,000.
Okay.
So I hope that the listeners, if they like this, sign up. And if you want to talk to me more about it, I'm more than glad to talk to you about it. You can email me at james.beach@att.net, james.beach@att.net. And there's 2 other interviews where I talk even more about this. So Juliet and I talked about a bunch of stuff tonight. So Tracy's husband, Tom, there's a 30-minute interview that Tom and I did talking about this. And Scott Carson from last week, there was about a 30-minute interview with he and I talking about it. So 2 other people who you can watch interview me and get another layer of detail about this if you're interested in it. We believe we're going to get some really cool numbers for listeners. And I believe you're going to charge more for your services because you're a nationally syndicated radio host.
That is very cool. And I would imagine you're going to talk about it at the mass media event this weekend as well and make that offer again, because I know I have an offer
in Austin.
In Austin. Okay. Well, yeah. I can't wait to see you live from Austin.
So I'm going to fly to Austin so I can broadcast from the hotel that I think that they should have chosen.
Okay. That is amazing. I know, Austin, it's just not as good as Orlando where we were at Disney World. I mean, Scott's kind of slumming this time doing online.
Well, there's value in us sitting next to each other, and actually spending 3 days together and eating meals together. And I was disappointed that's not happening again. And, I have 4 children and 2 dogs and a cat and a wife, and I'm always excited
to leave. There you go. So yeah, that's why he loves our group so much. It wasn't really about us. It was about leaving his family. You're such a great guy, Jim. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you co-hosting this evening and hearing all about Pod 24. And I'll see you this weekend.
Yes. Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity. And I am disappointed we're not going to get to hang out this weekend. I am a little bummed, but we'll do a real one again in 3 months, Scott said, so we get to hang out then.
Oh, he didn't tell me that. Okay.
I'm going to force him to do it.
Why do you know everything before me?
Because I'm going to force him to do it.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I talk to Scott almost every day. Why do you know and I don't? No.
So now you're going to force him also.
I probably will. Someplace fun. He's given me all sorts of events. I'm going to one in Salt Lake this weekend that I found out about from him. And he's in Austin. So, all right. Thank you, Jim.
Have a great day. Thanks, everybody. Good night.